In this age of ecology and reuse and recycling of goods that we have used, we're always looking for ways in which things might be repurposed so that we might not only be more economical in our use of those things at our disposal, but also to be attentive to our environment. Certainly old pickle jars and glassware is often repurposed to hold tools and screws and little bits and pieces for the tool table in our basements. Many other things we know we've recycled and reused in many ways. One of the things that is most challenging for an ordinary consumer to recycle is a light bulb. It is what it is. It is meant to produce light, and when its life is over and cannot produce light anymore, there is very little that can be done. Those of us of an older age might remember those old flash cubes that were repurposed and reused as Christmas tree ornaments or other photo holders. But we're hard-pressed to reuse those fluorescent light tubes or other incandescent bulbs as they burn themselves out. It is a reminder that they were made for one purpose, and one purpose only, to give light. So too, Jesus makes it very clear for us that we are made for a purpose, a one purpose only, to give glory to God by our works, by our lives, at the service of the gospel and of one another. Jesus reminds us that salt is what is used to flavor, but once it is no longer usable, what do you do with it? It's very hard to find another purpose, another use, than as he describes. So too, you and I, as women and men of faith, are invited to live the gospel, to be faithful to the call of Jesus, and to respond to that invitation to share that good news with those around us. If we cease to do that, then we cease to be those who seek after and follow the commands of the Lord. What happens to us then? Well, thankfully, we don't have to determine that. We commend ourselves to the mercy and the grace and the goodness of our God. But in the meantime, we do trust to do our very best to proclaim God's love, to proclaim God's mercy, to live lives of forgiveness and generosity and grace with one another. That is the purpose for which we have been made. That is the light of Christ that we are to bring into the world. And so the gospel reminds us as well, even if we did not want to do that, much as a lamp would be hidden by a bushel basket, that light could not be contained, for its heat and its warmth would burn its way through and still give light to the world. As we are challenged by the many things that face us in our world, in our nation, and in our environment, we are invited to look for ways not to simply reuse, but to renew God's Spirit, to renew God's purpose, to renew God's love and call to live merciful and generous lives in our world today. In that way, we can be faithful, and we will not become obsolete, but we will indeed continue to be God's light, God's love, God's guidance to our world. May we today give light to our sisters and brothers, not of our own accord, but in response to that call and that light that comes from God above, that light that we embraced in baptism, that light that is nourished in our sharing of the Eucharist, and that light we are called to share as we go forth from this celebration today.